Monza was supposed to be the kind of race every McLaren fan dreams of. Two young drivers, both in the title hunt, both with the speed to take on anyone, finally getting the stage to prove what they're made of. But instead of a celebration, what we got was a storm. A quiet storm at first, whispered through radio calls and post-race interviews, but that calm didn't last long. It's now erupting into something bigger, something that could tear McLaren apart from the inside. Let's start with what happened. Lando Norris, the golden boy of Woking, had a botched pit stop, cost him precious seconds. Meanwhile, Oscar Piastri, he was flying. Clean strategy, no mistakes, and sitting pretty in second place. And then the call came in. McLaren told Piastri to move aside, no discussion. No room for interpretation, just a cold, hard order. Let Lando through. On the surface, maybe it looked like team strategy. Protect the bigger picture, balance out the bad luck. But deeper down, it hit a nerve, because in that moment, it didn't feel like strategy. It felt like favoritism. Like McLaren had already chosen their champion, and Oscar wasn't him. Now, here's where things really start to boil. Piastri obeyed the call. He didn't make a scene, no dramatic radio outbursts, no reckless pushback, but make no mistake, he was not okay with it. After the race, you could hear it in his voice, calm, controlled, but sharp. And that sharpness only got louder when Mark Webber, his manager and former F1 driver himself, stepped into the picture. Webber didn't hold back, called the team order a mistake, said it was the kind of move that could rip apart team unity. And coming from him, that's not just talk, he's lived it. He knows exactly what happens when a team starts picking favorites. Think back to his own battles at Red Bull. He knows the warning signs, and right now, McLaren's showing all of them. The crazy part, this isn't even about who's faster. This is about trust, about fairness, about how a team treats its drivers when both are in the fight. Because when you ask a guy who's driven a flawless race to step aside without explanation, you're not just taking away a position, you're taking away belief. You're saying your fight doesn't matter as much. That's what hurts. Not just for Oscar, but for the whole garage, engineers, mechanics, even fans. Because once that trust is cracked, it's hard to glue it back together. And right now, the cracks are growing. Lando tried to do damage control, of course. He said there was a pre-race agreement, that he would have done the same for Oscar. But here's the thing, when you're on the receiving end of a call like that, words don't carry much weight. Especially when the stakes are this high. Especially when you're in the middle of proving you belong at the front. And let's not forget, Oscar isn't some wide-eyed rookie anymore. He's sharp, calculated, hungry. This was his chance to stand tall, and the team told him to kneel. Behind the scenes, he's not just brushing this off. Sources say he filed an internal protest, not out of ego, but out of principle. He wants clarity. He wants to know where he stands. Because if Monza is a preview of how McLaren handles pressure, he's got every reason to worry about what's coming next. Mark Webber knows the politics of Formula One better than most. He's seen careers made and broken by a single pit wall decision. That's why his outburst wasn't just emotional, it was calculated. He's been in Oscar's shoes, watching a teammate get the nod while his own efforts were quietly dismissed. And when he addressed the media, there was no sugarcoating. He called McLaren's call dangerous. Not because it cost Oscar points, but because it revealed something far more serious, a team tilting the balance in the middle of a title fight. For Webber, the implications are massive. He's not just protecting Oscar's race result, he's protecting his long-term value in the sport. A driver who keeps getting second billing can't build a legacy. And if McLaren's hierarchy continues to lean toward Lando, it could trigger more than just awkward meetings behind closed doors. It could spark career-defining decisions. Decisions like walking away. That sounds dramatic, sure, but look around the paddock. Other teams are watching this unfold. They see the friction, they see the headlines. And for any team looking to poach a future world champion, these moments are gold. Oscar's stock is rising, and if McLaren doesn't give him equal footing, someone else will. But what about Lando? He's not exactly the villain in this story. He's earned his place, he's fast, consistent, and loyal to the team. But that loyalty might be the very thing clouding the waters. If McLaren sees Lando as their safe bet, their proven product, then Oscar automatically becomes the challenger, not just on track, but inside the politics of the garage. This dynamic is dangerous because it turns every every radio call into a loaded gun, every pit strategy into a battleground, and every result into a potential PR nightmare. Even if both drivers are civil on the surface, underneath there's a brewing tension that could explode at any moment. The paddock isn't staying quiet either. Toto Wolff, never one to waste a PR opportunity, chimed in with surgical precision. He said McLaren might regret trying to correct mistakes through interference, and he's not wrong. Every time a team tries to fix a problem by asking a driver to compromise, it chips away at their integrity. Fans know it, the media knows it. The other teams, they're taking notes. It's already shifting the narrative. What used to be a story about McLaren's resurgence is now a story about internal conflict. Headlines aren't celebrating podiums, they're dissecting radio transcripts. And that's the worst place a team can find itself, because once the story becomes about fairness, trust, and favoritism, every future move is questioned. Every win is debated. Even F1 veterans are weighing in. David Coulthard pointed out that the Monza order didn't just look bad, it felt staged, manipulated. And in a sport where perception is everything, that's a devastating blow. Fans tune in for the raw, unscripted chaos of racing, not corporate decisions whispered through headsets. And this is where McLaren's leadership is now stuck. Do they double down and try to justify Monza as a one-off? Or do they accept that the damage has been done and start rewriting the playbook? Because if they don't, this friction could escalate into something they can't control. Two fast drivers, one team, and the ghost of every implosion we've seen before. Webber's warning wasn't a threat, it was a history lesson. And if McLaren doesn't learn from it, the next chapter might be written by someone else. Oscar Piastri isn't throwing punches, he's not shouting into microphones or making passive-aggressive jabs on social media. But that silence? It's louder than any tantrum. He's holding his cards close, but every move he's made since Monza has had purpose. Filing an internal protest wasn't a show of defiance, it was a message, one that says, I'm here to win, not to play second fiddle. This is where things start to get fragile, because when a driver begins asking for written assurances about fairness, it's no longer just a matter of team orders, it's about survival. Oscar's not just protecting his shot at a title, he's protecting his identity as a top-tier driver. The moment a competitor feels boxed in by politics or sidelined by favoritism, the spark that fuels their greatness starts to dim. And no team, no matter how historic, survives long when its best talent starts checking out emotionally. Lando, for his part, is stuck in a tight spot. He didn't ask for this drama, but whether he likes it or not, he's the face of it. Every time McLaren makes a tough call, it looks like it's done in his favor. That kind of narrative, true or not, can poison a reputation. It paints every win with doubt, every celebration with a footnote, and for a driver as ambitious as Norris, that's a legacy killer. Right now, the two are still professional, still smiling, but you can feel the shift. This isn't just a teammate rivalry anymore, it's two futures colliding. And if McLaren can't figure out how to balance them, they won't just lose points, they'll lose control. The bigger issue, the fans feel it too. Social media is flooded with arguments. Some say Oscar was robbed, others defend the team's strategy. But the fact that this is even a debate shows how deep the damage runs. Trust is eroding, not just between the drivers, but between McLaren and the people who cheer them on every weekend. And once that fan trust is gone, getting it back is almost impossible. The warning signs are everywhere. Remember Hamilton and Rosberg? That rivalry built a dynasty but nearly destroyed it at the same time. The tension eventually became so toxic that the garage split in two. Engineers picked sides. Strategies were questioned, and no matter how many trophies they lifted, the atmosphere was pure chaos. McLaren is standing at the edge of that same cliff, and Monza might have been the first step over it. There's a way out, but it's razor thin. McLaren has to do something most teams avoid at all costs. They have to be brutally honest with both drivers with the media, and most of all, with themselves. If they want both Oscar and Lando to stay hungry, motivated, and loyal, they need to draw a line in the sand. No more vague promises, no more behind-the-scenes deals, just a clear rule book, equal for both. Otherwise, this situation will only snowball. Every overtake, every pit stop, every post-race interview will be dissected for signs of favoritism, and if that suspicion takes hold, it won't matter how fast their car is. They'll be racing each other instead of the rest of the grid. Monza lit the match. What happens next depends on whether McLaren decides to douse the fire or watch their title dreams go up in smoke. Because once a civil war starts inside a team, no one really wins. Not the drivers, not the fans, and certainly not the legacy